Okay. Woo! Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. You might notice today I'm in a new space. About a week and a half ago, my wife and I moved to a new apartment, and y'all, I'm freaking loving this place. I'm very excited about the physical layout, the openness. Look at the openness, and you may have noticed the light. There's a window there. There's windows there. There's two windows right there that I don't even have the blinds open. There could be even more light in here. There's two windows right here next to me. I could shoot right here. I could shoot here. I could shoot right here. I'm excited to make stuff not only in here, but I'm a 6 to 7 minute drive from some soccer fields that I've been going to recently, a 4 to 5 minute walk from a park and a coffee shop and a restaurant. I'm living. This is a big lifestyle change and environmental change from our previous house. I loved our previous house, but this is what I've been dreaming of, honestly. So I'm really thankful that we found this place. So back on the topic of filming things, and if you're a photographer or a filmmaker, I'm sure you've been through this before, but it's a similar sensation to when you travel somewhere and take a trip and you're like shooting everything. I know when I travel, I post way more on my Instagram story. I'm just taking frames and looking at new angles and new light and new compositions because it's all fresh and new and novel to my brain. And it's a very similar feeling moving places, especially the physical layout of this place with the openness and the natural light and being in close proximity to a park and nature. Like, I'm just excited to shoot. I'm excited to make things. Whereas when you're at home, you see the same things all the time, you drive the same places, you see the same light, the same angles, the same compositions, and it gets mundane and you kind of stop pointing things out. With all that said, I can't just move houses every time that I get bored and start seeing my surroundings and the world as mundane. It's just not financially viable. If I could, I would. I know that would be ridiculous. That would be very unhealthy. But something I do want to talk about today are ways that I kind of jumpstart that mindset, like practical things I can do to see the world like that, to see the world in a way that I'm excited and where I'm searching and looking for new visuals. I do think overall it's a mindset thing. I think it has a lot to do with how you're feeling, what's stressing you out in life, what's all on your plate, and just a lot of emotional stuff. So I do feel like it's a mindset shift. I feel like you have to tell your brain, hey, I know you've seen all this stuff before, but today we're gonna be excited and we're gonna look at it differently. That's probably the best way to do it. It's not something I can always turn on and off, but as a filmmaker, I do want to talk about practical things that I do to jumpstart myself into that mentality and make sure that I'm shooting things differently or looking through my lens and my monitor differently and just not getting stuck in the mundane. Let's talk about it. So the first practical thing that I like to do to make sure that I'm looking at the world differently, especially through my lens, is change up my gear. Let's talk lenses specifically for a second. So a lot of the times I'll shoot on this Tamron 28-75. It covers a wide range and it's pretty versatile, but the downfall is that it covers a wide range and it's pretty versatile. It's not putting me in any kind of boxes. I mean, I guess it's putting me in the box of 28-75, but I can shoot wide, I can shoot medium, and I can shoot tight, all with this one lens. It doesn't really push me to shoot in any certain type of way. Whereas putting on something like the Tamron 17-28 means I need to shoot wide shots, right? Or if I'm shooting tight shots, they're gonna be a very specific type of tight shot. They're gonna have that weird, long, stretchy face thing going on. Or I can get creative with wide angles in small spaces. Like this shot I got when I was shooting a sequence in our guest bathroom the other day. It's a relatively small area, but shifting my mindset to thinking at 17 millimeters, I was like, oh, I bet I can get this cool kind of uneasy, super wide shot of the room. It has like a security camera look almost. Staying on the topic of lenses, and I'm sure you can see where this is going, prime lenses are so good at putting you in boxes. I mean, literally, you have to shoot at one focal length. So you have to get creative, whether it's you moving or just getting in that box of shooting ultra wide or shooting ultra tight on like a 100 millimeter macro. Another cool thing to do, especially for video, for photo as well, but especially for video, is change your method of stabilization or your method of rigging. So if you always shoot handheld, like I always shoot handheld, go out with a gimbal one day. go out with just your tripod one day. Jacob and Madison and I went on a photo walk a couple days ago, and it was a little ridiculous, but I took my whole tripod just because I wanted to see what I could get with my tripod. Staying on the gear topic a little bit more, one massive thing that you can do, and it's kind of a cheat code if you haven't done it already, is film with an external monitor, like a 5-inch or a 7-inch. If you're a video person and you've never shot with a 7-inch monitor, it is one of the greatest things. It looks like you're watching TV while you're filming, and it makes you just compose differently. It makes you look at light differently. You're not on a tiny little screen, and it's very immersive. So if you haven't done that, that is a very quick way to just change the way that you shoot. So that's gear. It can keep going. You can basically just use new gear, use different gear. Let's move on to number 2. This one is, I think, my favorite one. I don't know why it's number 2, but it is just go to a new place. And I'm not talking about traveling. I'm not talking about going on a trip. I understand that that costs money, and money is not always fluid. You can't just be like, hey, let's spend a bunch of money so I can go get some cool new shots. If you have the money to do that, if I had the money to do that, I would do that. But take Birmingham, for example. This is not that big of a city, but there's a lot of different areas. This is an area called Highland Park. It's very hilly. There's a lot of parks. There's a lot of nature. This is normally where Jacob and I do our photo walks. Even before I moved over here, Jacob does photo walks over here like 3 or 4 times a week, and he's somehow still finding new compositions and new light. Maybe I should talk to him. Maybe Jacob should be making this video. But a couple of weeks ago, we were like, hey, let's go downtown because we've been shooting Highland Park so much. Let's go to a different area. Downtown is more concrete, more buildings, more people walking around sometimes, more street lights, and just a little bit more urban feeling. If we get bored of that, we can drive 30 minutes out of Birmingham to a small town that looks more like rural Alabama. That's a hard word for me to say. Don't make fun of me. To a small Alabama town and just get different looks. Like there's multiple places within an hour of here that are dope old little towns with cool little downtown squares. Some of them have businesses, some of them are completely shut down. I know this kind of depends on where you are, so this may not work for everyone, but consider getting some friends together and being like, hey, let's go find a new spot today. Let's go find a new place to shoot this weekend and just see what you come up with. Okay, let's move on to number 3, and this is for all my video people, and I need to do this more, but it is take photos. Just take photos. You don't need to shoot video all the time. I'm really bad about always wanting to make sequences or films. It's not bad, but like that's what I do. That's what I want to do. But giving yourself that limit of only taking photos can make you way better at filmmaking. I find that taking photos over video makes me focus really hard on composition, really hard on lighting and kind of contrast ratios throughout my image. Sometimes camera movement and on-screen action and blocking can carry the image even if the composition or the lighting's not that good. But I found that shooting photos kind of builds in that composition and lighting focus to where it becomes more inherent. And then when you do go back over to video, you're like, oh no, I gotta get this composition right. I gotta make sure there's like leading lines and things slicing into my image to go along with the camera motion and the blocking and the color grading and all of that. So number 3, if you're a mainly video person, try shooting some photos. If you're a mainly photo person, try shooting some video, because all of that skill you get from taking photos and knowing composition and lighting and having that basically built into your brain, then you just transfer it over to video and you're making some sick freaking videos. Okay, let's move on to number 4, and shoot in black and white. I've been thinking about black and white photography and video a lot lately. There's this one guy on YouTube called The Wandering DP. He's a DP and he'll break down commercials and I think movies, but mainly just commercials, go frame by frame and like draw on the frame with his iPad. And he shows like, here's the contrast ratios. Here is the light going from bright to dark to bright to dark. And that's what's drawing your eye. That's what's drawing your interest to the image. One thing I was thinking about the other day, similar to shooting just photos to focus just on composition and light, if you shoot in black and white, you remove kind of the bonus that color gives you. You remove the color being able to carry your image or your contrast, and you are shooting with basically just contrast ratios and lighting variances and things that at a base level make an image really interesting, but you may not notice until you turn false color on or put it in black and white and see like, oh, there's a lot of different lighting values in this image, and that may be why it looks so good. So shooting in black and white, super weird. I haven't done it a lot. Back to the monitor thing, find a good deep contrasty black and white LUT and load it into your external monitor. Turn it on. It's not going to affect your actual image, so you can have the color later if you want to when you're grading it, but just shooting it in black and white, it makes you shoot differently. I think I'm going to make a whole video about that because I just need to do it more. But y'all, those are all the practical tips that I have for kind of seeing the world differently and shooting differently. Like I was saying earlier, I do think that just kind of shifting your mindset and deciding to see things differently and deciding to be excited and look for new visuals in your mundane day-to-day surroundings is the best way to do it. But like I said, I know that's not always easy. I know that life's not always easy, and sometimes you just got stuff going on, and it's okay that you are not excited to create things. But if you are in a creative rut that's being caused by not having any novel visual stimulation around you, I hope these tips help. And last thing before I go, I know I mentioned in a previous video that I'm gonna do a giveaway of a DaVinci Resolve Studio license. I'm going to drop that video and do that giveaway whenever I hit 5,000 subs. I think we're at like 4,300 right now. So subscribe and then come back when I have 5,000 subs, and maybe you can win a free license to DaVinci Resolve Studio. Y'all, thank you so much for watching. Please hit like down below, helps me out, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Hi.